How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Talking Wolves, or welcome back to a brand new match preview on the channel today. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe as always. And be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're very, very close now to 8,000 subscribers, and fingers crossed we should hit that before what is going to be an absolutely massive game in the Premier League calendar for Wolves. No doubt this is the game that everybody was looking for and looking at when the fixture lists were revealed at the start of the season. It's the Black Country Derby, Wolverhampton Wanderers versus West Bromwich Albion. Of course, it's been a long time coming. The last time we played up against Albion, we don't really like to talk about it in Wolverhampton, do we? So fingers crossed Wolves can get their revenge and get a much needed 3 points as well. Before we kick off though, be sure to go and check out our channel partners over at Football Prizes. Once again, they've got another fantastic Wolves prize up for grabs this week, and it is a signed and framed Daniel Podence shirt. Fantastic, lovely number for you guys to potentially get your hands on. So a link to that competition is in the description down below. But West Brom versus Wolves, and like I said earlier, it's been a long time coming. Look, I'll be honest straight away, as a slightly younger Wolves fan, I don't think I feel the tension and the fierceness of this rivalry as much as some of the older fans probably will, because we just haven't played them enough. The last time we played Albion was probably when I was like 12 or 13. It's a long time ago. So I don't feel, I haven't grown up with this sort of every season and this fierce rivalry and derby. And it's sod's law really that, the season we get it back is when, with such an uncertain situation and we can't go to the matches. Look, West Brom have had, I'm sure they'll be disappointed with their start to the season. They haven't been fantastic already. Obviously sacking Slaven Bilic and bringing in Big Sam Allardyce, who was from Dudley, grew up as a Wolves fan, and now, hopefully he can be agent Sam maybe and send them straight back down. But, they've only picked up one win all season at the moment. 17 games played, 1 win, 5 draws and 11 defeats, conceding a hell of a lot of goals as well. 39 goals conceded for them, just on a torrid run at the moment. Unfortunately for them, as it stands, only Sheffield United have been worse than them really. So West Brom are still picking up draws and so on. I think the one thing is with Big Sam over a period of time, he is going to help you defensively. He's got the know-how to at least give you a decent attempt of trying to stay in this division, but I think he has got a large task this season with West Bromwich Albion. From an outsider looking in, I just don't think they've strengthened that squad enough since getting promoted to the Premier League. But, we will have the West Brom perspective later on in the video. In terms of Wolves right now, it's a very strange situation for Wolves right now. We are not playing fantastically. We're really struggling with a number of injuries, aren't we? And this is the game we have to win. And if we can get a win here, I'm sure Wolves can get firing again. This is the game every Wolves fan wants to win, but we know form will go out of the window for these type of games. It was another disappointing defeat this week for Wolves as we lost out to Everton 2-1. It wasn't a horrific performance, but it was just way too flat really, and Wolves are relying too much on, not strikers scoring goals. Unfortunately, Fabio Silva just, isn't quite ready for this level. Is Patrick Cutrone going to be able to replace the goals that Raul Jimenez gave us? I just don't quite know. So that is that's the first situation for Nuno and headache, really. Who will he start out of Patrick Cutrone and Fabio Silva? Who's going to get the nod there? I can't decide personally. I wouldn't know where Nuno would go for it. If I was leaning one way, I'd probably say Cutrone, because Silva's just not quite happening for him right now. One player that I really want to see back if we can is Adama Traore. Of course, unfortunately missed that game against Everton. Hopefully that was just a precaution really, and hopefully we see him back in the squad and possibly the first team for this game against West Bromwich Albion. And also we don't know the situations really of the likes of Willy Bolly and Daniel Podence. It seems like they weren't a million miles away from coming back into the first team frame. If if we could see either of those two back, I think that would be a huge bonus for Wolves as well. Look, we've got to win this game. We've got Chorley as well next week in the FA Cup. I'm sure we'll bring some content out on that over the next 7 days or so, because that's quite an intriguing and interesting game. But Wolves have got to go for this. We've got to really attack at West Brom. Their defensive record speaks for itself. I know with attacking players right now, they haven't had the best of luck with forwards. So I'm hoping that we can take this game to West Brom and get a much needed 3 points. We look at the table right now. Wolves aren't in the best of positions, and hopefully a win can kickstart our campaign again. In terms of the transfer window as well, it seems like it's going to be a quiet one for Wolves. Very subtle links here and there, but with the recalls of Morgan Gibbs-White and Patrick Atrone, it looks like Wolves may not dip into the window as much as we need to. I'm thinking with all those injuries and looking at our bench, our squad still is not strong enough if we want to take this season a little bit more seriously and possibly push still for the top 6 or top 7. I think it's a long way off now. I think we've probably given up on this season already. And as long as we can get wins in games like West Brom, like a couple of the games coming up, we have got some tough fixtures, but there are a couple of winnable games over the next few weeks. If we could keep getting wins or getting points out of those games, I would put our full focus on the FA Cup, try and put a smile on the faces of Wolves fans and try and get some silverware this season. But now it's time to get the West Bromwich Albion perspective. I'm going to hand you over to Jack, who's, I really appreciate him doing this video for us. He's going to be giving his thoughts ahead of the game.
So, the Black Country Derby is back on Saturday, back for the first time since February 2012, and I won't remind any Wolves fans of what the result was that day, purely because I can see it going the opposite direction this time around, and, why would that be a surprise given the season that West Brom have had this year? It's been really, really poor, one win all season, goes without saying that it's not been a great one. 19th in the league, 3 points off the bottom. I really can't see where it's going to improve. It's been poor from the start. Defensively, we've been abject. There's been times where we've really struggled to kind of manage games, and I think our inexperience has shown a lot at this level. With the likes of Dara O'Shea, Darnell Furlong, Romain Sawyers, even the likes of Pereira and Grady Diangana. There's no real Premier League experience in this squad, and where there is, Kieran Gibbs, Jake Livermore, Branislav Ivanovic, they just haven't stepped up and bridged that gap. There's been some very silly red cards that have proved costly from Gibbs and Livermore, who I've mentioned already. It's been really poor. I think then you look back to what could prove to be a big turning point, rightly or wrongly, in our season is when Big Sam took over. We were only heading in one direction before him. He's come in, and we obviously got a draw away at Anfield, which was a good result after a decent performance in the second half. And whilst it was never going to be pretty, I think a lot of us were thinking, okay, maybe we can grind out a few results. But no, it's just you could argue it's got worse, to be honest. We don't look like a defensively astute and robust Big Sam side. We don't soak up pressure. We don't do the basics right, and part of that is probably down to this not being the right crop of players for him. And we're working on that in January, but I just feel like it might be too little too late. He's really not inspired the squad either. I think some of his comments in the press have been a little bit demoralising, probably, for the dressing room. I can't see this. I can't see this season improving, to be honest. As much as I sit here and hope for a win on Saturday, it's not looking great. There have been a few bright sparks, I suppose, in terms of individuals. You have Conor Gallagher, who is on loan from Chelsea, and he brings bundles of energy to the midfield. He's probably the quintessential midfield player, because he can do a little bit of everything. But he's suspended for Saturday's game, and that's going to be a massive miss, I think. And then elsewhere you have Sam Johnson in goal, who is having the best season of his career in a West Brom shirt. Whether or not he'll be a West Brom player this time next year, I don't know. Truth be told, because of his form, he's probably got one eye on the England setup, which probably sounds ridiculous to a lot of people who don't watch him week in, week out, but I think he has been that good this season. Whether that eventual call-up comes in a West Brom shirt or in the shirt of another club, I don't know, because I don't think he'll get it at the Hawthorns, to be honest, with the way we're playing. You look at the Wolves side, and there's a lot of players that can damage us. Pedro Neto is a player that I rate really, really highly. I think he's got a massive future. in English football. You know, I think he's really stepped up since Diogo Jota's moved on to Liverpool, and he's kind of become that attacking, creative force that Jota was, and you know really makes Wolves tick in the final third. Raul Jimenez, who obviously is a great striker, he's a massive miss, and I wish him well after his what seemed to be a horrific injury at Arsenal. You know, there'll be Albion fans that are looking at his absence and thinking, oh well, maybe they haven't quite got the firepower that they would normally. But then I think someone like Pedro Neto, who can score and create chances in equal measure, I think he's going to be one to watch up against a defence that's really struggled this season anyway. You know, prediction-wise, you know, perhaps I'm letting my heart rule my head a little bit when I say I think we'll have enough about us to kind of make the game a little bit closer than what we're used to seeing recently. But I think Wolves will be the worthy winners on Saturday. I really do. A 2-0 win. I can't see where we're gonna be able to land a punch on Wolves. If I'm honest, we've only got one fit striker in Callum Robinson, and you could argue he's not a number 9 anyway. Yeah, it's not looking good at the moment at the Albion, and I'm sure Wolves fans will take a lot of pride in enjoying that. But that's what rivalry is all about, I suppose, and I just hope for a good performance on Saturday.
Well, big thanks to Jack as well. A link to his Twitter is in the description down below. Predicted lineup for Wolves, of course, with the current situation at the moment, things could change, but with the players that we know are going to be available, well, even Pedro Neto picked up a little knock, didn't he, against Everton? So fingers crossed he's okay. But with the players that we know are available, I think the team will be Patricio in goal. I think it'll be the same back four with Aït-Nouri, Cody, Saïss and Semedo. Midfield three the same again with Neves, Moutinho and Dendoncker. Look, for this game though, if we have got if we got Adama and Neto, I would actually probably drop Moutinho and bring in someone like Vitinha or possibly Morgan Gibbs-White as a proper number 10 in behind the striker. I think against Albion that's what we need, and that's what we lacked against Everton, a link between the midfield and the attack. I think we've got to go for this one a little bit more, bringing in an attacking midfielder. So possibly drop Moutinho, bring in Vitinha or Morgan Gibbs-White, Neto, Adama, and I think Catrone to get the nod against West Bromwich Albion. Look, guys, fingers crossed Wolves can get a win. It's going to be a really tricky game. Let me know your thoughts ahead of the game. If you've got any previous experiences of the Black Country Derby, which games stand out for you guys the most? And yeah, fingers crossed Wolves can win this game, get a huge 3 points and get the bragging rights finally, once and for all. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Big thanks for your support on our newest series as well, our live streaming series, The Final Word. We'll have another one of those on Saturday evening after the West Bromwich Albion game as well. Look after yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your week and weekend, guys. And I'll see you all very, very soon.